Okay guys, this is your video for Geometry SLO Review Worksheet number 8, the trigonometry one. This video is going to be a little bit longer. I've got two problems that we're going to take a look at, and they do take a little bit longer, so sit back and relax, guys. We are going to solve each triangle and round our answers to the nearest tenth. That's kind of a lie. Round your segment lengths to the nearest tenth, round your angle measures to the nearest degree. Okay? We are actually just going to look at problem number 1. Okay, these trig problems we've got to remember. So, ka, toa. Okay, and what we want to do when it says solve each triangle right here, it simply means find every single missing measure. Remember, there are 3 angles in a triangle, there are 3 sides in a triangle, and we have got to find an angle right here. So we're missing that angle, we're missing this side and that side. So when we are done, we are going to have the measure for angle B, we are going to have the measure for side length AC, and for length, BC. Okay, that's what we're looking for. Now, obviously, hopefully you've already seen that angle B is really, really simple. Angle B, all you have to do is 180 minus the 41, and that'll give you, minus the 90. Sorry about that. 3 angles in a triangle. We've already got the 90 degrees. We've already got the 41 degrees. So we do 180 minus 41 minus 90, and we get a 49 degrees. Okay. So hopefully some of you also kind of remember the shortcut that really all we have to do is 90 minus 41, and we get our 49 degrees. So angle measure taken care of. The next thing we need to do is find our side length, and it does not matter if you try to find side BC or AC first. Okay. I'm actually going to label this just so it's easier for me. I'm going to label that X, I'm going to label that Y, so I know what I'm doing and how I'm trying to find it. When we are doing these, you want to work with the information that is already typed on the problem. Remember, typed on the problem, because if you try to use information that you found, if you did something wrong and you find incorrect information, then your entire answer is going to be wrong throughout. Okay, so we already know angle A, which means we are going to go and we are going to sit at angle A. When we're sitting at angle A, we got to label our there are geese outside. Fantastic. Sorry, I don't know if that mic picked that up or not. All right, so when we're labeling, or when we're sitting at A, we're sitting right here at A, we're going to label our sides. If we go across the triangle from A, this is the opposite side, right? Across from the 90 degrees is our hypotenuse. That's always, okay? And then like right next to the 41 degrees, that is our adjacent side, okay? And that helps us to figure out our SOHCAHTOA. All right, if I'm trying to find, it doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter which one you want to try first. I'm going to try to find BC first. So I'm going to look for angle X. I'm sorry, side length X. So I'm going to write sine, sorry. No, that was right, sine, okay. If I'm sitting at A, let's just verify. Sine of A is opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse, there we go. That's what we want to do. All right, sine of A. So sine of angle A is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. And you just go and you plug in what you know. So the sine, angle A is 41 degrees. Okay, so sine of 41 degrees equals opposite. I don't know what the opposite is, but I've written an X for it. So X over, and my hypotenuse is 11. Now, depending on how you remembered it, I showed you a couple ways, but you can always treat this as a proportion. You can put your sine over 1, and you can cross multiply. And when you cross multiply, literally all you have to do then is say, okay, you know what? 1 times X gives me X, and that will equal, make sure you always, 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 always put your normal number first. Normal number first. Whether you are multiplying or dividing, that normal number goes first. So it's going to be 11 times the sine of 41, and that'll give us our X, and our X is, when we do that, 11 times the sine of 41, we should get a 7.2. So our BC, the length of BC is 7.2. Okay. Then we can go and we can do another trig problem, another setup, just another simple equation, and solve for y. Now if I'm sitting, I'm go back to sit at angle A, go back to sit at angle A. I need the adjacent side. I still have the hypotenuse. Remember, even though I found the opposite side, I'm not going to use it, because what if I had screwed up and made a mistake, as I did when I first started the problem, okay? So I need my adjacent, I have my hypotenuse. That means I'm going to use cosine, so ka toa, adjacent over hypotenuse. So the cosine of A is going to be the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. So the cosine of 41 degrees equals my adjacent side this time is called y, and the hypotenuse is actually 11. Okay, and of course, put it over 1, and we can cross multiply it right there. No problems. So when we do this, we'll get y times 1 is a y. That equals, of course, it's just going to be 11 times the cosine of 41. And when we do that, 11 times the cosine of 41 is 8.3. We're rounding to the nearest tenth. So BC is 8.3. So we have found all of the missing information. We have found the angle B, right, is 49 degrees. That's one of the angles that we were missing. And we were missing the two sides. We've found them. We've got what we need. Okay. The next problem that we are going to look at is problem number 3. Okay. This is slightly different than problem number 1. Notice how we have two sides and one angle. We are missing two angles, so we're going to need to look for angle A. We are going to need to look for angle B, and then we're also going to need to look for side length AB. Okay. Now we have to think back to Pythagorean theorem. When we have two sides of a right triangle and we want that third side, all we have to do is the Pythagorean theorem, and we just simply need to remember that across from the 90 degrees is our hypotenuse. That is our C. So to find our side length, all we're going to need to do is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay. So we've got 14 squared plus 15 squared equals c squared. When we do this, we'll have 196 plus 225 equals c squared. Okay. The 196 and the 225 combine to give me 421, and that's c squared. Take the square root of both sides, no problems there, and this is where we're going to round the nearest tenth. So 20.5 equals C. So the side length AB is 20.5. So one side length down. We've got two angles that we have to find, and it does not matter which angle we find first. I'm going to go just over to this left side here, and I'm going to sit at angle B. Okay, if I'm sitting at angle B, I do the same thing that I did with the last problem. I want to label my sides. Across from angle B is the opposite side. Okay, next to angle B is the adjacent side. And then across from my 90 degrees, as always, that's the hypotenuse. Okay, so right now what I have, yes, I did just find my hypotenuse. I did just say it was 20.5, but remember what I said about actually using the numbers that we're finding while we're solving this triangle. If you screwed up and you made a mistake finding AB, then everything you find using that number is going to be wrong. So I'm actually going to stick with the 15 and the 14 that are already typed there. So if I am sitting at angle B, okay, I'm going to say, all right, if I'm sitting at angle B, I have the opposite and the adjacent. I have the opposite and the adjacent. When I'm dealing with opposite and adjacent, it's tangent. So the tangent of B is opposite over adjacent. So it's going to be 15 over 14. Tangent of B is opposite over adjacent, 15 over 14. Now this is one of those problems where we have to remember that we want to find an angle measure. When we're doing that, if we have our letter right here, okay, and our fraction right here, and there's nothing, our fraction is actually a full number. We don't have any variables in there. What happens is these two switch places. Okay, so when we rewrite this, this is going to be the tangent. We've got 15 over 14 goes here, and then we've got B over here. Now remember, there is a moving fee. When your fraction and your letter actually get up and move, they move across your equation sign, you've got that moving fee, so you have to do your -1 right there. And so when you go to your calculators to plug it in, right, you're going to do the inverse tangent. So you actually hit that one button in there and do second tangent or inverse tangent, depending on what your calculator says. So when you do that, you are actually going to do second tangent, inverse tangent of 15 divided by 14, and you're going to get your B. Your calculator should give you 46.97. Remember what I said about rounding to the nearest degree. Every time we do angles, we'll just round to the nearest degree. So we've got angle B is 47 degrees. So we can go up and put that on what we're missing. Angle B is 47 degrees. And then we don't have to go through this whole big process for angle A. We can simply say, you know what? I found angle B. I know that I've already got 90 degrees at angle C. So angle A is going to be 180 minus 90 minus the 47. Okay, or again, if you think about the shortcut, it's just 90 minus 47. And so angle A is 43 degrees. And that takes care of the majority of what you need for your trig refresher.